Ma'am, so far in this conversation, you have been continuously telling about that accident, the major phase. I know it is hard, but can we talk about that accident? What happened?
Hmm. It's not hard actually. I probably gave that expression because it took away solid 20 months of my riding time away from me. So I met with an accident not while riding. As I told you, I maintain a good speed and I'm a very cautious rider. I never touchwood had an accident while riding. This was a very silly accident, so to say. I had finished a ride from Pondicherry to Kolkata. Probably this was my third or fourth ride, 2017. 15th March 2017. 14th March, I reached Vizag, and as I told you, sometimes I had finished it at Kolkata. I was supposed to get into Northeast. I was just tired. I didn't want to go, and I decided I want to go back home. Okay, so my birthday was coming in, and my son was, I think he was coming back from the academy, so I wanted to be home because he was most of the time away. So I came back by train, put my bike on train. I came back on 14th. It reached. I also reached Vizag. 15th, I went to the station with the petrol cans because we are not supposed to have the petrol in the vehicle when you're transferring it through the, because it's combustible, no? So I went to the station to collect my motorcycle. The coolie, you have a receipt. I gave it to him. He was not finding my motorcycle. I was worked up 2 hours. He's searching. I said, it came on me. I only put it on the thing. I know it has come. I was sitting on the platform number 8 at Vishakhapatnam railway station. Okay, that parcel office. You're not supposed to go. You just give the receipt. The old man searching. Then I stood up. I said, what is this? They're not finding. It's like a baby for me, my motorcycle and this new bike. So I said, okay, because when they paint, they've tied up the gunny bag and all that. So when they painted that 8 looked like 3 because probably the folds were there. He said, no, this number is not matching with the numbers on the motorcycle. I said, you forget that. The number plate is there. No, I will tell you I know my number plate very well. This is the number plate, you see. And so he went again. So he got down from the 8 number platform. He crossed the tracks and he was on the 7th. He was getting onto the 7th platform. Meanwhile, I stood up and you can recognize your motorcycle. Wait a second. I saw a motorcycle which looked like my Ellie on 7th platform. So I shouted, trying to get his attention. That is the bike. That is the bike. What is it? So in that conversation, I forgot. I didn't realize, and I walked up to the edge of the platform, and there was water there. They must have cleaned or whatever, and I was not wearing my gears, boots and all that. I went in a t-shirt and jeans that I was supposed to collect the motorcycle, give it for servicing. After a long ride, you generally give it for servicing. So I was wearing this normal sandals kind of a thing. And I slipped. And I fell on the track. So this leg landed straight. My left leg on the track. I heard the noise. It like this stuck. So if this is my foot, regular one, it from here at the ankle, it twisted and it went like this. And there was a train on the track. I could see the engine. I said, and I'm not able to. Okay, I fell down. No sensation, absolutely, but I knew something was wrong. But when I saw my feet, this left foot was, I said, how does it look? I freaked out. I don't know. Don't have the memory how I stood up. I managed to stand up. Probably my dad must have saved me, his spirit, because I felt something warm. I stood up. I jumped on my left leg and came to the edge of the platform and I started shouting, help, help, help. So there were a lot of people. And there's a lot of depth between where you are and the platform. So then they 4-5 people held me by the shoulders and they pulled me. My back was crashed. And just 15 minutes before, I'd called up my son that, okay, he was coming to Vizag. I told you that's the reason. I said, okay, I'm coming to the airport to pick you up and see you soon. Bye, love you, beta. All that happened and I'm down, okay? So then I called up again my doctor friend. She's like my savior. I called up Anjali. I said, Anjali, I have broken my foot and I need to. So she thought, some little. So she picked up a scale. Another friend of ours, Dr. Sumi, they said, we are coming in the car. Now they come. and she sees it. You can't put a scale with a twisted foot like this. So meanwhile, I'm calling my son. I said, "You come to Seven Hills." I followed him. I said, "What happened?" I said, "I fell down." And then people gathered. They said, "No, let's go to the railway doctor. Wait, I will just." I said, "Don't touch." I knew something had gone wrong. No sensation whatsoever. And then she put me in the car, and her driver was supposed to take care of my bike. While doing this, also I'm telling him, "Please take the car bike properly. Don't change the shift the gear like this." My friend is getting angry. She said, "Give the keys to him. He will handle it. He will park the bike wherever it has to go. You get into the car. We need to go to the doctor." And meanwhile, she had called up Dr. Shah, who was an orthopedic surgeon, Seven Hills, very senior doctor, one of the sweetest. He's like God for me. He saved my leg. And they took me. So they had to cut my pant, they had to cut my shoe, and they had to give me full anesthesia because you couldn't straighten up my leg to take the x-ray also. It had twisted in such a difficult way. And there were 12 fractures in my ankle, in this much space. And then after 2 days, they put a plaster temporary. After 2 days, there was a major surgery done.
Your
And
son came back by then.
he came to the hospital the
Then-
next day. Yeah. Because again, Anjali is a family friend, so she had the keys and everything. They managed by then. And then he said, "What is this, mama?" So anyway, but that was a major accident. Again, ankle. I was already 50 plus, and it takes time. Ankle is a very
Very
weak area.
delicate.
And whole body weight. So for 8 months, I was on bed with leg up like this. After 8 months, I was using a walker just with this fit, and a lot of physiotherapy went in. And every time I went for a checkup, my doctor I would ask, "When can I start riding?" He says, "Listen, I don't know about your riding. You might not even walk straight. You might walk with a limp. We'll think about riding later on." And then he would ask Anjali, why she always asks about riding. He thought I'm a cyclist. Then Yo Vizag had done a feature on me. So by then he said, "Oh," then he read about me. He says, "She's such a passionate biker. Now I have to make sure that she rides again." And
You never
get her."
told him like why?
No. I just fell down. Like, I don't tell why. It was not required for a doctor to know I'm a biker, no? So simply. So, but then Dr. Shah, he made sure that my foot got okay. Only thing is now my this movement has gone. It is not, the dexterity is gone. So I use my toe to change my gears now. I figured it out, but after 20 months, I started riding again. And then I went for the coastal ride with a friend of mine who's a cancer survivor herself, Supriya. That was my longest ride after my accident. I was on the road for 25 days. I wanted to see if my leg can take. Now it swells up. I was a very active person before that, but now when I run or walk too long, it swells up. But I'm managing. That pain has become part of my life. I have kept all the plate and the screws and everything with me as a souvenir, and I want to make a chain somewhere or turn it into something and keep it as my memory. So then there was a second surgery to remove all that steel also. But yeah, that was a major accident which changed my riding capacity, and little fear in me, that what a broken bone can do to you, and it can put a full stop. So I'm little conscious, probably little scared to try new things, and that's the reason I am only into cruising. I don't get into dirt biking or even off-roading. I'm scared. What if I fall down again? So that has instilled a little fear in me, but I've not stopped riding. So I'm still riding, yeah. So that was a bad accident in 2017. Took me 20 months to get back on the motorcycle again, but I'm riding.
How did you feel like sitting on the motorbike
Again?
after the accident? The first time you again sat, and
Oh, so
how did you gather that confidence? Like,
I had always decided that whatever said, and see, there's a lot of stories around you. You see lot of these motivational videos that people have had hip surgeries, and people have broken spine, and how they have it's all in the mind. There is a book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. So I used to tell every day, I used to tell myself, it's okay, it's broken, but it's not going to break your spirit. It will pain. It's all in me. I'll figure it out. If I can't use the heel, I'll figure it out something. We'll customize the bike, but I will ride. I am not going to give up. Again, sports, you don't give up till you cross the finish line. And I'll cross the finish line only when I'm dead. So I said, I'll ride whatever it takes. It takes 20 months, 30 months, but I will get onto the motorcycle. This accident is not because I had just started riding. I said, this is not done. Damn it, I said, I've just started riding.
And this is part. It will
No, and people with much more severe injuries get back. We have heard about Olympic stories and what all inspiration we have heard, you know. So I said, I am not going to give it up. And of course, again, my son, he said, no, Mama, fine. And then, you know, there's a boy called Pawan, biker from Vizag United Bikers. He said, Ma, he calls me Ma, biker Ma, because he's younger than my son. He said, the day doctor gives you a green signal that you can ride, I will come with you to the ride. In case, you know, you can't handle it, we'll go till Bimli, fine. He came with me. The first gear was down, so that was easy. When I screamed. So he asked me, Ma, are you okay? I said, yeah. Painful, no? I said, no. He said, shall we stop? I said, no, let's go. We went till Bimli. We had dosa there and we came back, and I said, okay. So I was struggling to change.
Behind you?
No, he was on another motorcycle.
Okay.
Nobody sits behind me. I had no pillions because there's luggage, you know.
Oh, okay.
So always. So I'm not used to having pillions on my. He was on his own motorcycle. He had a Dominar. So he came with me. And I said, okay, I'll ride. They said, good, Ma. So, you know, I have children who motivate. And my son was messaging. He said, Mama, go for it. It will be painful, but it's okay. No pain, no gain. It's tattooed on my ankle. No pain, no gain. So pain is part of your life. And physical pain is something that you can take care of it, you know. It's the only emotional pain that you sometimes can't handle. But for that, again, I'm studying psychology, so you can handle that emotional pain as well. So you should not give up. This is all challenges are part of your life, and challenges make lovely, interesting stories. If without the challenge, if you have a very happy life
is boring.
No, boring. And then what do we have? Something to look forward to. When you overcome challenges, you actually feel you're a winner. You feel so good about yourself. Builds up your confidence, builds up your personality.
Yes.
So challenges are good.
You were mentioning that you will ride until your last breath.
Yes.
I think your ride will not stop there. There will be somebody, especially people from the club that you have established. There will be somebody who will continue your legacy.
There are already people. Young girls have gone beyond my capacity, and they've done rides in the difficult terrains even before me. So they've already gone beyond, and I would love them to go much beyond and become bigger than, just like, you know, every teacher or every mother feels. A mother is happy when her child does better than her, right? Same way, it's the only person apart from your mother who's happy for you when you grow beyond her is a teacher, a school teacher. So many of my students are doing wonderfully well. I am not jealous of them. I don't feel, I feel happy because somewhere little part in them was, you know, my contribution, my kids. So yeah, it's the same with the club. They're like my kids. So they all have gone beyond, they will go beyond, and I'm happy for them. So, and Gloria Struck is my idol, you know. So she's 92, 93. She's still riding. She's a Harley girl in America. She's still riding. I want to be like that. So,
Ma'am, even while riding, you might have taken some safety precautions, and I want to talk more about the riding safety precautions that you have taken, and also your personal safety precautions that you have taken. What are the precautions you have?
Yeah, so whoever wants to do serious riding, and everybody who has a motorcycle is not a rider, mind you. What you see sometimes on the beach road going with those stand down, and they're trying to generate that spark. Those are not riders. Just because you have a motorcycle, you're not a biker.
And don't do that.
It's risky. So a real biker is a responsible biker. Remember that. You will, if a true biker, you'll never, even if I have to go 500 meters around the corner, you'll always see me with the helmet, proper shoes. I will always wear that. Okay, so wearing safety gears, your proper helmet, it has to be snugly fit. Not that, it goes dangling like this, or helmet is put onto the bike and when you see there is a policeman, then people put the helmet. It's not for that, it's for your own safety. Okay, so helmet should be snugly fit, a good quality helmet, because it's protecting your head. Then when you're riding long distance, you should have a proper safety gear. There's a jacket, there are pants, there are knee guards that you wear, proper shoes.
Big suit kind of?
No, so jacket is still here. Okay. You have riding pants. Okay. I don't wear riding pants because my size is not there, I have to get it customized. So I wear my jeans, and on that I wear knee guards. So till your knee, till your shin, it's covered up. So there's metal here and all. You look like a robot actually when you're riding. So that is there to cover up. Then your boots are special till the ankle. The front portion, there's safety boots which has steel inside, so that if accident happens or something falls, your fingers don't get cut.
Okay.
So there is a steel at the heel. So
Okay.
yeah, the boots are again heavy.
So, did you find it uncomfortable when you wore it for your left ankle after the operation?
No,
No, it
no.
was okay.
I told you I got used to the pain.
Ah,
Physiotherapy was very painful. So nothing can get more painful than that. So again, because I'm from the sports background, physical pain doesn't bother me much. It's part and parcel of my life,
yes.
yeah. And the more attention you give, you become conscious of the pain. The more you ignore, it doesn't bother you. It's up to you. It's all here. It is here in the mind, So I don't let it overpower me. So the safety boots, your gear, knee guards, if not riding pants, your riding jacket, your gloves. Again, special gloves we have safe, here, like protection on the knuckles and all that. So all that is there. Following traffic rules, signals, following lanes, not doing rash driving. That is for the riding things. Personally, I have something called as an iron knuckle. So it's always in my pouch, which is on my waist. So you just have to put your hand in, and it covers through your fingers, so it can take care of, you can punch somebody. So that's an iron knuckle, and I have a Swiss knife with me always. I carry a pepper spray. Of course, pepper sprays you should never use in an open space, because the wind, it will come and get into your own eyes. Yeah. So pepper spray again in a closed area. So I always have a pepper spray with me.
I'm pretty sure you didn't have any incident where you had to use
No,
that.
I didn't have to use it ever, touch wood,
Ever.
till now, and I don't think I'll. Actually, India is pretty safe. Certain things you should take precautions and stop in a public place and all that. Don't give away too much of personal information. But otherwise, India is pretty safe. So many people are solo travelers, not just bikers. People travel solo.
Especially they have YouTube channels and they
So much they do.
They
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
so
like an influencers on the Instagram.
Only inform somebody where you are. Share it with somebody that where your location is, and nowadays you can. Somebody should be knowing about your whereabouts. So that way. So yeah. Otherwise, it's a pretty good thing.
Can we talk about that pouch that you always?
So it's a small pouch which has my purse, which will have the cards, little cash, my ID cards. Then there'll be a book with phone numbers. Sometimes your phone can get spoiled. Again, I'm an old school person, so what if your phone falls, doesn't work? It's a machine, finally, an instrument. So there's a small book in which city-wise there are numbers given there. So if nothing, I can take somebody else's phone. So little information, person's name, phone. So that's my little key numbers are there in that, or information is there. I also make a note. When I fill petrol, I write at what kilometer I filled up petrol, of how much. Basically to see my budget, how much I spent. Okay, those are 100 rupees. Quickly I'll make a note because that pouch is here. So there's a pen. There's a lipstick always, because I'll tell you why. Because when you're riding, you get tanned and all that, and hair get messy, sweaty. And most of the time when you're riding, wherever you reach, there is media, photographs and all that. So just before I know there's just 5-10 kilometers, I stop, I lift up. I have a special helmet where the chin can go up.
Okay.
So I don't
Only
have to
the chin.
Yeah, chin. So
Okay.
it's called as a modular helmet.
Okay.
So only the chin can go up, so I can drink water, talk. My helmet also has a phone connection, intercom. Like I can speak to people, noise cancellation. So I just put that up. I'll put my bright lipstick and go. So then you feel fresh and good. A little lady touch to the biker. Generally all black and dirt, and that's the dust and all that. So you feel a little beautiful and you feel good. The typical woman thing. So that will always be there. My phone inside my pouch. So I never remove this pouch. Even when I'm sleeping and all that, it will always with me. That Swiss knife and knuckle is always in this. So these are the basic things I carry in my.
And that is very near to your body.
It is part of my thing. So it has a special thing. So one belt will go around your thigh,
thighs?
so it stays on you always. Immediate access to whatever thing I need. And also, yes, and one important thing that is there in that thing is my bike papers, my insurance, my pollution certificate, and my bike's RC book photocopy. Besides that, there's one more copy in my saddlebag in case I lose that. That is there. It's also on my phone. Nowadays, you have that, e-challan and all that app. But that is there. So these are the things I carry always in my pouch.
And
then there's a tank bag which has a camera. I have a GoPro, so there will be camera.
Do you shoot when you?
Yeah, So sometimes action when you, because certain places you're not allowed to stop, but then you see something very beautiful, so you quickly click it. So I have my what you say is other information will be there, the map will be there, some little snack in that. So the tank bag you can remove. It has a magnetic strip, so it just, the moment you put it, it just quickly fits onto your tank. So that's a tank bag you can remove. Rest of the luggage I never remove. Even if I've gone for the toilet inside, I just take my key because it's tied with the bungee cord, so nobody can remove your luggage. And who will bother to take it out? They'll struggle removing the luggage. So the tank bag and the pouch. So tank bag, of course, again has something extra cash, keys, extra keys. What I would need in case.
And these repair spare parts and all
are in the saddlebag. So yeah, so the saddlebag is something on the two sides. So saddlebag has luggage like clothes, spare parts, a medical kit, first aid kit is there, my water. Basically yes. Not very few clothes. Maximum luggage is taken by the spare parts. So yeah, so that's how it is.
So that's how you maintain the safety while riding, and also
around me.
the
Yes.
digital protection.
Yes.
Through WhatsApp live locations.
Yes, and keep
WhatsApp
again. I
group.
told you that WhatsApp group.
Yes.
Yeah, so they know where I am. In fact, I've helped some riders when I am also part of the team. So I remember one rider who was part of our club, Shirley. So I called her up. I said, "Where are you going? You're supposed to be here." "Yeah, Vayesh, I'm not 5 figure." I said, "Wait, I know your live location. You listen to." So she was on the phone, and she said, "Okay." I was looking at her live location. I got her back onto the highway. She had lost her way. So nowadays, technology helps. Yeah.
The technology has advanced, and it also advanced in
Yes.
helping.
So you also
in
so you also
motorbike.
get a GPS which you can fit onto your motorcycle forever.
Okay.
So it can be part of your motorcycle, and so if my motorcycle stops, suppose for half an hour, and I have not informed that I am not stopping for break for something. So have you met with an accident? Why is it not moving? So people besides me, my phone is there, but my motorcycle has a GPS.
Okay.
Yeah, tracker.
So you've traveled solo as well as group.
Yes.
Okay. What do you like the most? Group traveling or group motorbiking? Or?
Sorry to my group, but I like solo more. I love my group rides, but we have not done long distance. The longest distance we have done as a group, because they were all newbies and all that, was from here to Annavaram. We did a day ride, which was about 100 kilometers, and
On
came
the highway,
back.
like straight.
Highway.
Okay.
But again, these are all new girls who had joined in to do highway riding. It was risky, but we all went, followed the rules and all that. So that was the longest group ride that I did for my club. Otherwise, we have done about half a day ride, exploring various beaches, new spots. Somebody says, let's go there. So some 100-year tree. I saw one 100-year tree near Vijayanagaram. Okay, let's go. We've gone and actually saw that 100-year-old tree in after Vijayanagaram. Srikakulam, between Vijayanagaram and Srikakulam. We came back. Something like that, So we stood there, clicked photographs, carried our snacks. So something like that. So we have done crazy stuff like this. But mostly Sunday rides. I like my solo rides because again I have a freedom to travel.
But I think doing a group ride, you have to maintain certain rules, and there are rules. And all.
So there are a lot of signals that you follow.
Okay.
You do a lot of signals. So there are various hand gestures.
Okay.
Which you do. So we have something called as spark plug evenings, where you while riding you can't teach, of course they all observe. And then we have marshals, so the senior most somebody
So
whom
you
you trust.
travel in a line?
Single line or two lines, if it is, if the road is narrow you take single line, if there's two line then you say do this. The moment you say this, so the one next to you will come, so there'll be two lines
Okay.
depending on that. Then you maintain one bike distance between two bikes. Then there are a lot of hand signals, stop, police. Then there is a ditch there. If you can't show, you stick out your leg. So there are a lot of gestures.
Just for a second, like this.
Yeah. So you want to fill up petrol, there are signals for that. You need a break for bathroom, there's a sign. You need water break, that way there. Some break. So what happens is I always stay at I'm the last person whenever we do group ride, because I want to see that everybody's gone safe. And the next senior most will be the first one, so they'll follow. So in between, so if there is somebody who's very new, will be in the center. So protected. So it is like it is a very planned one. So but we have also discovered our own hand signals. So
Surely.
there's something called as this. Yeah, so this is for any animal. Because India, you get dogs and you get the cows and the buffalo suddenly out of nowhere. So somebody in the front will do this. That means there's some animal somewhere. And one more thing we do is, these guys who come opposite direction with their lights on,
Headlights.
we make it a point, we will raise our finger and show like this. See? So we'll all give a look and show like this. And that person feels, oh, okay, sorry. Sorry, girls, I'm coming wrong distance. So we've developed that among ourselves. And now many clubs have followed us, when they have done a ride with, what is this? Animals. Okay, oh, this is the nice one. So this is developed. So that's how we develop. So we have a lot of hand signals and all that. So we also teach how to tie up your luggage or how to repair. So it's like a learning process.
It's a community.
Yeah, sisterhood, solid sisterhood. So it's we are like a family. We are a family, biking family. As we say, motorbikers, the true motorbikers are just, we are all a family. Only those who you haven't met yet. So yeah. So the moment you say motorbiker, nobody will ask you who you are. Somebody has said this motorbiker is coming. They will go out of the way to. You are a motorbiker. You are part of a family. That's it. I've hosted so many people in Vizag. I've helped them out. So just because somebody says, this guy is coming from Assam. Okay, give him my number. I'll do whatever help I can do here. So it's a community, very strong community.
Ma'am, all this feels nice, all this feels amazing when you become a rider, but as females ourselves, I think girls are not much encouraged to come into this motorbiking field or motorbiking activity, because they think that this is a very male dominated activity. They don't, generally it is not very associated with a girl on a motorbike. They think, okay, you want to drive something, or we'll take a scooty, motorbike and all. It's not your this. This is what is the stereotype that people have. I think now it is breaking, because now we can proudly say that we have thousands of women bikers all over India.
Yes.
Very proud of it. But I think back when you started in your college days, it was very, very, very low. Right?
Yeah,
the number.
hardly. I don't remember. As I said, we were just 2 or 3 girls who used to compete amongst probably 40-50 guys. And initially it was just me, then 2 more came, something like that. But yeah, that time the number was very low. Or even if there were people, probably they were not aware, or because we didn't know this kind of thing exists or something like this exists. So I don't know, somebody might be quietly also motorbiking or secretly doing it like me. But awareness was not there, or even if it's there, we didn't know about it. But the number was very low. Today, it is almost registered people are almost 3,000-4,000 women bikers that I know. Globally, there's a huge organization. So, in fact, there was a relay ride, WRWR, Women Riders World Relay. So, Hailey Bale, one rider in UK, had this idea that let's connect all the bikers around the world. So, she had a baton, and it was transferred from each country. So they took 1 year to connect 15,000 women bikers all over the world, and the baton traveled for 1 year across all the countries in the world and came back to UK. So I was also part of that thing. Only thing is, because of lack of time, we did not come to South India. I was supposed to do the South Indian leg with the baton. It crossed from Pakistan to here to Burma within the northern thing. So it did not come down. But then they had a website, WRS. So I was the first Indian biker to go onto that website, international website. Information was there. Thank you. And from there, some biker in US noticed my information, got in touch with me, and then she's celebrating 25 years of motorbiking in US, and then of a book, and then she selected 25 bikers all over the world. After that, I was one of them. A coffee table book she's writing about it. Then I met a global rider. Her name is Martha. I would like to mention she's one of my very dear friends from Spain, cancer survivor, hardly knew English, did a ride all over the world solo.
On a motorbike.
Yes, on a Royal Enfield. She bought a Royal Enfield in Spain, and she did a all solo ride all over the world alone on her motorcycle. So she was in Vizag, and now we have connected so much. She makes sambar there, and I make her Spanish soup, and we share pictures. And yeah, so we have become very close friends. And someday I would want to go to Spain and ride with her there. So very, very dear friend. So it's across the barriers, and just because of biker, and somehow we connected, same age, grew up, our thought process. And so she met so many bikers, but she says, I don't know what connected with me with you. And for me also, I feel I know her from previous life. There's something that has bonded us so much. So we share a lot of our stories every day. So in case we don't exchange messages for 1 week or something, she says, are you okay? Are you dead? so it was like this, So biking again is a huge community. So it's sisterhood. More bikers are coming up.
Breaking women bikers.
Yeah, women bikers. Thanks to the social media, YouTube, movies. Movies where now the heroines are on the motorcycle. So the Dhak and all those. So women are opening up, and girls, young girls from families, conservative families, parents are letting them be, So they're, and what happens is, somewhere I'm glad that I was one of those small little reason, at least in Andhra Pradesh, that when they saw a teacher, I was known as a teacher first. Yes. So a teacher, a mother, when she's riding, she's from a well-known family, a good family. That means it's not bad. Otherwise, they have a notion, that
yes,
bikers, oh, okay, they must be, loose characters.
This is what I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Now we want to burst the myths. Tell me three myths about people have about motorbiking and motorbikers.
It's together, you can't separate it out, but I don't think the myths should exist now that much, but yeah, probably few, I can say about 4-5 years or 10 years ago, 5 years ago, people thought that motorbikers means those rash drivers. They are all hooligans, probably. And again, this is my personal thing. Not everybody thinks like that, so I'm just giving my personal opinion. Maybe, that they're not serious kind. They just want to have fun. And they don't follow traffic rules. They are a nuisance. People think that. Most of the motorbikers have tattoos. So people think, tattoos means, okay, must not be a good person or good character, very fast, very too bold for her thing. That kind of notion. And people used to think that they do drugs, they smoke, they drink. It's not that. Most of the bikers are family people. They're very responsible. They're working. They do not have bad habits. They are very responsible riders. They ride for a cause. They ride for giving out some kind of message, and they do it out of passion, and they're very, very responsible. They follow all traffic rules. These are all the myths, that we are very serious riders. We ride responsibly. So these are the myths I want to bust. And people from good families, settled families, grown up women, 50 plus, they're all responsible riders. There's so many people, so yeah, these are the myths I would like to bust.
Ma'am, you ride for hours together, and you don't have food, you don't have lunch in between, you eat very limited. How do you keep yourself fit your daily routine? And also at this age, at 58.
That's why you have to eat less. At my age, you don't need so much of food. Again, because you're on a motorcycle, so you're not burning much calories. Of course, it's you lose weight. Even I always lose 5 kgs after a long ride.
Really?
Yeah, but because it's still a lot of not, you're not cycling where you'll burn more calories. And again, I told you the reason I don't eat much, because you feel sleepy, and it's enough. So fitness, I walk every day. So I have a trainer. His name is Laksh. Again, he's a biker friend's brother. He himself is a biker, so he got on with me on board, and he's decided to train me for life. So we on my 54th birthday, I told him I wanted to. I was a runner before the accident. I used to run 10 kilometers before, but after accident limitations and all that. And again with Pinkathon, I was very active. So I told him I can't run, but I wanted to do something on my 54th birthday. I said I want to walk 54 kilometers in a day. He says, "Ma'am, let's do it." So when you have a coach equally crazy, and he's as old as my son, so there's a good connection with him. He said, "Let's do it." So he planned within a month. I walked 54 kilometers, not at a stretch, in 3 parts. I walked 54 kilometers on my 54th birthday.
In one day.
Yes. So I do this kind of crazy stuff, and again I go for my walks every day. I do about 10,000 to 13,000 steps every day. I do a little weight training because my vehicle is almost, you can say it's again 120 kgs of vehicle. Then your luggage is about 50-60 kilometers with their gear and all that. So you need strength. You need this strength. You need leg strength. You need core strength. Your core has to be very strong to handle all this. Because riding again is not an easy job, and you're doing everything. Your shoulders and everything takes the toll. And I do a lot of stretches. I go for swims. Swimming, I love swimming. So I do that. I watch what I eat. So I have a trainer and a coach who looks after my nutrition and everything. When I'm on my ride, he'll tell me what you should eat because the timing changes. So I have somebody who guides me. And basically, because I'm from the sports background, I'm pretty conscious. So what I eat. So that's how I keep myself fit. And apart from the body, I keep myself positive and happy. I don't get into the toxic people's zone. I read a lot. I don't get into gossip. I try to stay happy. Try to see what is good in everybody. So that's when I have some wonderful 3 best friends, female friends, with whom I spend time, I share, we laugh, we go to movies, my students, my kids, meeting wonderful people like you, listening to stories. So yeah, that's what keeps me positive, happy, healthy, fit, mentally fit. And again, now I'm learning psychology. So yeah, that will make me feel much more fitter and probably ready to understand people also better. So that's how I manage.
I have asked this the previous guests also, and I want to ask you, what keeps you motivated at this age, doing all this? Sometimes you might see that because of your age, there might be some physical barrier, or you might not be able to do like that after the accident, the ankle thing. But you adjusted to another technique. You found out that you can do it with your toe.
Yes.
So you might have felt that full stops, but you turned those full stops as commas, and you kept continuing. What keeps you motivated? Why do you want to do something that is unique? Why do you feel like breaking the stereotypes every single day?
That's because you have so many people around you and stories around you who are way beyond you, older than you. If you say again, age is just a number. I'm just 58. Milind Soman, with whom I'm associated as a Pinkathon, his mother, have you seen her?
Yes.
She's 80 plus. She runs. Casually she runs. She does push-ups. She holds a plank for 2 minutes. I'm 30 years younger to her, like at least 25 years. And then I wonder, I want to be like her when I'm her age. I told you about Gloria Stuck. She still rides. She must be doing something to stay fit, right? Then I had read a book called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. You must read about that. He had all the problems, but he became a commando and he broke all barriers, and he's one of the fittest person today. So when you read this kind of stories, I've read about people who have amputated legs and gone and climbed Mount Everest. What have I got to complain? I don't have anything to complain. I just had a minor ankle injury compared to them. So when you have these kind of people around you, it keeps me motivated. I want to be better myself. I don't want anything to limit me. And for that, you need to be physically fit, mentally fit. So that, and again, motorbiking is so much fun, because you get to learn so much. You get to meet such wonderful people. You get to see so many things. So that keeps you motivated. So that's my secret, I guess.
One message that you want to tell to all the girls watching this from the other screen, maybe after listening to this, they might have found their interest, passion, or their career maybe. They want to come into motorbiking as an activity. They want to come into this, but they're not aware about this much. They're not very confident about this. And also, what do you want to tell to the other bikers? Your message.
Well, I'm pretty newbie. If you say as a comeback biker, there are bikers who are much more seasoned and they know so much more than me. But yeah, I would like to say that, ride for the passion of it, not for the glamour of it, or because it's the in thing, it's the stylish and you get noticed. Don't do it for the wrong reasons. Do it if you believe in it, if you're passionate about it. Do it for a cause. If not even for a cause, just spread the happiness and spread the good word. And ride responsibly, wear proper gears, be a good example in the society, so that people will change their mindset that, okay, as I said, will break the myths, will break the stereotypes. And it's just not about motorbiking. Anything that you want to do, follow your passion. Follow your passion, believe in it and stand by it. If you believe in it, you will get the resistance, but stand by it. Then only you will be able to continue what you want to do. And don't limit yourself mentally or physically, because age is just a number. Always go back to your passion and do what makes you happy. Because when you're happy, you're going to spread happiness, is what I want to say. Ride responsibly, be careful on the road, and make sure that riding becomes a normal thing tomorrow, So yeah, that's what I want to say.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining with Abhilasha, Stories of Heart, Mind and Voice.
It was my pleasure, and thank you for having me. And I've done my debut podcast today, and I'm so excited.
I am so glad that your first podcast is on Abhilasha.
Yeah, and beautiful name, Abhilasha. It's such a wonderful name, and I wish you all the best. And may you grow, and may your stories reach many people. And because of this podcast, you took me back to all those 9 years, much before that college time, and I relived everything. So I thank you for that, and you made my morning wonderful. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, ma'am. Your life is full of adventure, thrilling, breaking the stereotypes, and telling riding for girls is the normal. It should be the normal.
Yeah.
It can't. You should not. Motorbiking is not gender biased.
Absolutely not. Motorcycle doesn't know whether you're a man or a woman. So just follow your passion, and motorbiking is like meditation for me. So be happy, do what you want to
And
do.
life starts after 40.
Life starts after 55 also. I'm 58. So age is just a number. Again, I told you, live till you die. So, don't and keep the child in your life. Be inquisitive, want to learn. So just be happy and explore.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Abhilasha. If this touched you, inspired you, or made you think, please do us a small favor. Like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel Abhilasha, Stories from Heart, Mind and Voice.